Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Live with Liz. Or should I say Happy New Year, because this is our first Live with Liz of 2022. And I'm excited to be back, but cautiously excited. Today, we're talking about managing uncertainty in your law firm, and maybe that extends to life in general as well. I know, right? The only thing that seems to stay the same is nothing. Change has become a fact of life in a very dramatic way for most of us, with COVID-19, with family issues, with economic issues, with government regulation. Everything seems to be a little bit different every day, but it just seems to be also more of the same that we've experienced over the last couple of years. And some people have asked me, what do you see for 2022? And let's talk about what the business development environment looks like. And we'll get there. We will talk about those things. But today, what I want to talk about is managing that uncertainty. I think to some extent, lawyers are really in a great position to be able to do this. I mean, the expectation is that as lawyers, you have this heightened sense of reason, and that you've been trained to be reasonable and to be logical and consider all of the different possibilities and the different outcomes. Not only that, law firms have always had to deal with a certain level of uncertainty. That being, good morning, Leah. Oh, I guess it's afternoon here. Oh, I'm broadcasting from Rio. That's just part of my uncertain start to the year. Hopefully I'll be back in Houston next week. That was a side note. But getting back to this idea that lawyers have always had to deal with uncertainty. What does that mean? I'm talking about not knowing what kind of resources you need to match the level of work coming in. So you have to constantly make a balance of that investment in people and in technology and in resources. And to some extent, you're estimating, you're analyzing, you're guessing what work is going to be coming through and hoping that it's enough to sustain you and to be profitable. And of course, there are ways to hedge those bets and to invest in a way that precipitates growth. But if you have to manage that uncertainty, which as you always have, there are certain things that you have to take into consideration and measures that you just naturally take. You have to naturally be flexible about a few things. You have to be, as a leader in your law firm, ready to make difficult decisions and take on some of that onus yourself. But there are some things that we can do. What's going on right now, this level of uncertainty goes way beyond what lawyers have experienced in terms of work coming in or coming out. And all of these external pressures are also influencing that level of work that we're seeing. So where does that leave us for today? I don't know. But I'm starting to get a sense of it for 2022, and maybe you are as well. But what the good news is that there are some things that you can do to manage your way through that and to be as informed as you possibly can. So being informed is actually the first thing that you need to do to help manage this uncertainty. And what do I mean by that? Really just keeping up to date with the things that are going on around you that influence your work, whether that be certain regulations, whether that be things going on with your team, having open communication between you and your team members, the other lawyers you work with, the external parties you work with your vendors, to make sure that you're aware of challenges as they arise. You can scope potential challenges that you can prepare for, because there are some things that you can prepare for. If you know that people are going to be out, or if you know that certain work isn't going to come in, those are things that you can make adjustments for along the way to not have to be constantly reactive to everything. So in the regular uncertain environment, we're very reactive. We say, okay, this happens. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Okay, we're going to cut this. We're going to start over here. We're going to move this over here. We're going to cancel all of these investments that we have for travel. Once again, we're going to make certain requirements to keep things healthy, but it's very reactive. It's, what's the change going to happen to the government? There are things that you can do when you're informed to get ahead of those and to say, okay, in this scenario, if this happens, this is what we'll plan to do so that we can preserve our resources over here. So if another lockdown occurs, we already know what our next steps are. And maybe you've already taken that step to figure out where you'll be and what you're going to do to help manage that aspect of it. Now, another aspect of being informed is the communication piece of it. And we've talked about keeping in touch with your clients and your colleagues on a number of occasions. You know, we always want to touch base. We wanted to say happy holidays. We want to check in. We want to say, are you doing okay? A wellness check, maybe sit down and have a cup of coffee. Maybe it's by Zoom. Maybe you're already in a space where you're comfortable going out in person. Maybe at this point, everyone around you has COVID and you say, forget about it. Let's just all carry on with life and hope for the best. But we're kind of on this boat together, aren't we? If you use this opportunity to not only be informed, but to make that communication step of reaching out to your clients, ask the question, where do you see the investments this year? What innovations are you working on? Can we expect to work with you? It's actually a beneficial gesture when you reach out to your client to understand what work they're having. Some people are concerned that it might look like a desperate measure, that you're saying, hey, I really need your work and I want you to send it to me right now. That's not what this is at all. It's actually assisting your clients, being a partner to your clients, offering something and saying, just as you, client, have to try and predict what your legal expenditures are throughout the year, we also need to try and make sure that our resources are in place to better serve you. And to do that, we'd really like to know where you are. So the beginning of the year is a great time to reach out to them and to set a quick meeting and to say, what are your expectations? And that, in that sense, you have the ability to kind of figure out and plan for what kind of work you might expect along the way. There are external places you can check for this as well. You can use data, as we always do, to kind of try and figure out what might be coming along the way. But that direct communication with the client, nothing can beat that when it comes to understanding what the expectations and hopes are for the year, where their investments are for the year, what their budgets look like if they're willing to tell you, and to go ahead and even make an offer that actually can help you as well. So there are a few other things that I would go beyond that kind of communication and suggest when it comes to managing uncertainty, lawyers and especially leaders in law firms can do. But by and large, that direct communication is really my best piece of advice when it comes to trying to balance and predict what kind of work you're going to have throughout the year, in addition to your regular business development and growth activities. Now, what we've seen throughout COVID is ups and downs for different firms. And there have been winners and there have been losers. And there are certain measures that people are taking. A lot of it has been driven around technology. I would caution you, don't make any drastic long-term changes right now without proper consideration. Now, it may be a good opportunity if you have a lull in work, if you know that you can't wait anymore, if you've allocated certain funds and planned for this to be a good time to make an investment in technology, to make changes to your software platform and resources, to maybe consider what pieces of technology might be replacing people as you go along. That's a difficult thing to think about as a leader in a law firm, also a necessary thought you need to give consideration to, and to understand that technology can provide you with additional flexibility in light of these additional pressures that we're facing. All of your clients, just like you are, faced with inflation, faced with the potential of additional variants of COVID coming into our lives and disrupting us once again. I think we're becoming accustomed to these disruptions, and now it's time to figure out how to balance and how to manage with all of the uncertainty that we constantly experience. Maybe that just means becoming comfortable with uncertainty and becoming comfortable making those decisions and being flexible. Now, when it comes to that flexibility, this human nature aspect of things makes us really want to prioritize protecting ourselves. And so we might make sacrifices, maybe on behalf of our team, before we make sacrifices at that top level on our own. But this is also a time to think about, as a leader, when things are uncertain and you have to make difficult decisions, and to plan for them, to say, I'm going to make those sacrifices myself first, and I'm going to take on the contraction if I have to take less when it comes to profit sharing or revenues that come my way and make investments that benefit the team, consider the team and the well-being right now first. And that goes to another piece of uncertainty that everyone's facing, and that has to do with labor. What we are seeing with law firms across the board is a very challenging environment for getting new attorneys, training them, keeping them. Retention is a huge problem. People leave law firms constantly. It seems to be a revolving door, bouncing from firm to firm or opening their own practices in order to achieve some of the benefits that they're looking for. As a law firm, you want to preserve your team, to preserve the investment that you're making in people. And you can utilize this time as you try and also be flexible to invest in your team and to take on the leadership sacrifice yourself. This may be a moment for you to be able to actually demonstrate what that looks like and to say, you know, that support, well-being, emphasis, the commitment to each other, and to understand people may need to work from home. Some people may not. Some people may care. Some people might not. Of course, these other disruptors, some people may experience loss. Some people may experience illness. What happens then? All of these things you probably have some sort of a plan for already, but try and think about them in the context of the work that you have to balance and the work that you're hoping to achieve, the revenue targets, the client targets, to understand what the potential is for just making it through. Now, say you're already gliding and you've already accepted all of this, then it is still 2022 and there is still some hope on the horizon as we see people saying, I'm done with all of this uncertainty. I don't like it, and I want to just get back to real life. To that end, if you're planning on travel this year, I would love to know about it. If you already have made any decisions that kind of help you balance along the way, I'd also love to know about that too. And I have also started travel, as you might be able to tell from my non-usual background from here in Rio. There were some unfortunate circumstances around me being here, but it has allowed me to get on a plane again and to be somewhere else and to see something else. And I would love to see other people this year. And I'm hoping that really happens as we adjust to whatever that change is that we have to just accept. So if you're planning to go to DC for INTA, if you happen to be coming to Houston at some point this year, hopefully I'll be able to get back to Houston, then I would love to see you, would love to catch up and figure out, you know, maybe together we can help each other and say what's going on and give a little support where it's needed, which is also a part of managing that uncertainty, that touch base. So I want to touch base with you. And yeah, I think that's where we are right now. So stay informed, communicate with your clients, try and predict where that work is coming from. Try and be as proactive as possible. Understand that sometimes you have to be reactive, but be flexible. Don't freak out. That's one of my tips. Don't freak out. And hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person very soon. And maybe that just means by Zoom. And I hope your 2022 is off to an amazing start, much better than mine. And that if you have any questions about how to analyze what's going on in the market and what that looks like in terms of the effect on your firm, or if you have questions about trying to communicate with your clients and even with potential clients in these times of change, you know, reach out to us, solutions@firmforward.com. This is something we're focused on right now and would love to have those conversations with you and share our expertise. Join us on Wednesdays. Hopefully we'll be back to normal, live with Liz, 9:00 a.m. Wednesdays, Central Time in the United States in Houston. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care.